Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Kelly Charles, your host of Nothing Else Mattress, the podcast. What in the world kind of name is that? Nothing Else Mattress, you may wonder. Well, it's actually not about mattresses, believe it or not. I am in the mattress business, have been since 99, so I'm in my 25th year. But I've wanted to do a podcast where I have a platform to share my story, but more importantly, share stories from entrepreneurs who have experienced a measure of success in whatever field they're in. But what I want to focus on is the leap of faith that it took for them to make that move, possibly from a job or a career that was a comfort zone. And how did they mentally transition from the comfort of a job or a career that was a sure thing into the unknown of business ownership? I want to really delve into the emotions behind that and what it took to make that move. And here's what's really cool is that in talking to so many of these entrepreneurs, business owners over the years, I have found that one common thread is that almost without fail, we would all say if we could do one thing differently, it would be to have done it sooner. So hoping that you listeners out there, those of you who subscribe, might find a little bit of inspiration if you're thinking about making a similar move, if you're in a position where maybe you have a job that you're comfortable in, and there's an element of that's okay. You know, big businesses need employees who are comfortable in their position or they couldn't operate. So this is not for everyone. But if you've got that drive inside to work for yourself, you've got an entrepreneurial spirit. I call it an insatiable one, like this drive to create something and see it succeed. You don't mind the work involved. You don't mind putting in what it takes. It's just that making that initial move is hard. Leaving the unknown for the known. I keep calling it taking that leap of faith, but that's what this is about. That's going to be our list of guests. We're going to talk to people from all different types of industries who have been in your situation. They have taken that leap of faith. They can speak to the emotions that are behind it, the fear that they had to work through, the challenges that still surround all of us, that those challenges never go away. It never gets easy. Entrepreneurship's never about working less. If you are a business owner, you know that. It's not about less work. It's just about different work. So we're going to head right into to a little bit of my story, who I am. And then in upcoming episodes, we're going to talk to some really, really cool people and hear their stories. And I just cannot wait to share all of this with you. I wish I could just record them all at one time and just throw them at you. So you're, trying to drink from a fire hose, because there's such great content coming your way. And my story that I'm going to talk about here is the least interesting of all of them. But that's going to be our starting point anyway. So it'll only get better from here. But so I am in the mattress business. I started working for Simmons Bedding Company back in 99. So I'm in my 25th year. As I mentioned, I own stores in North Georgia. Big Mattress Outlet are the stores that me and my husband own. We have launched franchising, so we are full steam ahead with some expansion. Should have a lot of new locations coming in the near future. So super, super excited about that. But that's not the important thing. What we really want to talk about is, let's go back several years in time to when we didn't have the Big Mattress Outlet. And really, for my story, I actually have to go all the way back to childhood. And just to kind of hit a couple of brief high points, I grew up in a very tiny little town, and I use the word town very liberally because there's no town about it. But Cisco, Georgia is the little place that I grew up, really just more of an address than a town. But out in the country, out in the mountains of North Georgia, and grew up in a little cabin that my dad built with his own hands, all by himself. There's a really cool story to that. But we didn't have a lot, and I didn't know that growing up. My parents didn't frame it that way. I didn't know that we were poor. I didn't know that we didn't have a lot, because that's, you accept the reality of the world you are presented with. And that was my reality. That I was never told that we were poor. So it was kind of cool that I just grew up thinking everything was normal. But we had a garden, and so my mom and dad worked the garden. Mama did a lot of canning, and she sewed my clothes. She was a very frugal shopper. Mama could turn every penny into a nickel and every nickel into a dollar. And she really, I didn't know this at the time. It's just again, that was what I grew up with. I thought that was just a normal way to shop. But I grew up going with her and watching her really fight for every dollar that she spent to stretch it out, and watching for sales and clipping coupons and being very, very frugal and meal planning. And, she managed our household very, very well. My dad was disabled. He was in a bad accident. And, so he was unable to work full time. And then I had a sister that was born very handicapped. And so my mom was not able to work full time because she had to care for my sister full time. So we had quite a lot going on in the household. But, again, I didn't realize that we didn't have the regular income that most families did with a couple of working parents, and that my mom had very, very little to work with to support a family. But unbeknownst to me, throughout childhood and watching that, I was learning a skill that I didn't realize was going to be so valuable down the road. So I did well in school. I made good grades. I wasn't super popular. I didn't really ever feel like I fit in with any of the crowds at school. I I had a few friends, but I wasn't one of the cool girls by any stretch. I was the artsy type, played piano, and I was in the art clubs and everything. But I think that sort of social awkwardness that I had as a kid, which seems really crazy to me now because I don't talk to anybody. I don't meet a stranger anymore. And I absolutely love getting to know other people. But to think how shy and reserved I was as a kid, I really have, it's not who I am anymore. But the feelings that went behind that not fitting in when I was in school have been a driving force in adulthood. We're shaped by environment and our upbringing, and so much goes into determining who we are as adults. And I think, as a kid, not feeling like I fit in, but I always wanted to. I wanted the approval of the in girls so bad. And couldn't care less about that anymore because I've got some wonderful, wonderful friends. There's never a situation anymore where I have those emotions, but something about having had them as a kid became sort of a driving force for me as an adult, where I have this need to succeed in what I'm doing to prove that I can. I guess you have enough people early on in life that tell you can't succeed or that you're not good enough. And there's a point, for me anyway, where I'm like, well, I will show you. And you just watch what I can do. So there's this constant attempt to prove some random people wrong that I don't even know anymore. And we've already forgotten one another even exists, but mentally I'm still there trying to prove to them. And ultimately, I know I'm just proving to myself, that I can have an idea and see it through. But having had that spirit for so many years, I didn't know how it would actually play out in my life. So I'm working for Simmons Bedding Company, and started out as a store manager and was promoted into corporate and became an operations manager. I was there for 13 years, and I really liked my job there. I liked who I worked with. I liked who I worked for. In a lot of cases, in a lot of aspects, you could say I had a dream job. And it's not because it was less work, because a job is always work, whether you're working for somebody else or for yourself. That work is not the issue. But I was able to work there and still put first the things that were super important to me. My family, my kids, my faith. And that is what constitutes, in my opinion, a dream job. So I had great vacation. I had long tenure there. I really enjoyed who I worked with and for, enjoyed the job that I did. Everything about it was a dream job, except something in here was missing, because I felt this need to create something that wasn't being fulfilled. I wanted to create a business. I wanted the fruit of my working hard from day to day. I wanted to experience some sort of growth from it, where not I've seemed like I was an expendable line item on a budget every few years. I felt like my job was in danger. I saw people who worked there for 20 plus years who did a great job. And, it was just determined by new management that their job was expendable or could be combined with a different job description, or there was never that feeling of working towards something and getting to reap the benefits of it. I just had this insatiable drive to have my own business. If I made poor decisions and performed poorly, then I would have to suffer the consequences. But if I had made great decisions, I wanted to feel the success from that. So while I'm working at Simmons, we went through a time period where my husband worked for Ford at the time, and his job was largely commission paid. And so, his paycheck fluctuated, and we went through some hard times as a family. There were some times where we weren't 100% sure how we were going to make the next mortgage payment. And there was one particular time that there was a gas shortage. Both of our vehicles, we were both driving. I was driving 60 miles one way to work, and I worked 2 or 3 days a week in the office. He was driving 70 plus miles one way and working 5 to 6 days a week. And there was a fuel shortage, and the gas prices were through the roof. And long story short, we weren't sure that if we were able to find fuel in the morning, that we would be able to have enough, because they were capping like $40 per fill up. We weren't sure that we'd have enough gas to get back home from work. So we were really having to ration what vehicle we drove, the efficiency, where we got gas. It was a very short-term situation. But in this short-term situation, and on top of already kind of struggling to make ends meet, Joe and I both were like, okay, we got to buckle down. We got to do something. What are we going to do to get through this? And in the moment, I thought back to my mom and how good she was at couponing. And I'd gotten away from it for years. I'd not been the most frugal shopper, but I knew how to do it. So I'm like, I can do this. I can coupon, and I will save us money. I will start meal planning. We had 3 kids at home at the time. I was like, we will stop eating out. We'll cook at home. I can make this work. Went back, called on the experience of my mother and all she had done to manage the household. I'm like, if she can do it with what she had to work with, I can do this. So I lit into stockpiling, couponing, full steam ahead. Now, this was before the show Extreme Couponing had aired. So extreme couponing, as people call it now, was not a thing. But that's what I was doing. And at the same time, it's funny how life throws these things at you, and how your decisions can change the trajectory of your life. But at the same time, I wanted to write a book. Sounds like I'm changing the subject, but I'm not. Bear with me. Wanted to write a book, and a friend of mine who is an author had said that the way he would hold himself responsible for writing was he'd write every day something. He said, if I would just a sentence, I had to hold myself accountable for writing something every single day. So with his direction, I decided maybe I should start a blog online, because I will obligate myself to writing content for it every day, because one sentence becomes a paragraph, and some days a paragraph's all you write, but other days you write a chapter because the words flow. And if I do it on a blog that's published, then I will feel, even if I have no subscribers, I will feel the accountability to myself to provide content for my imaginary subscribers. Should anyone ever subscribe to me, there would at least be content there. So I started writing. And I thought, well, what subject matter do I know a lot about? What am I good at that's relevant today? And now this was in 2010, I believe. Well, couponing was really relevant. That was starting to be a really popular thing among moms, was how to coupon. And so I'm like, I can write about that. I'm already doing it. I know it really well. So that was the subject of my blog. Working Mom Coupons was my blog. And don't go look it up, because I've already shut it down. That's a whole other story. But Working Mom Coupons was my blog. And I got a bunch of followers. I developed a Facebook page. I got tens of thousands of followers on there. And I mean, but I really was a very successful. There was no reward in it for me other than a little bit of affiliate links on the website. I got, a few dollars a month from some ad clicks, but it was fun. Okay, so now I got that going on. In the middle of that, my husband and I watched this show on TV called Extreme Couponing. Now, it was just a pilot for the show. It wasn't a whole series yet. As far as we knew, it was just a show. But when we watched it, my husband looked at me. He's like, you should do that. You totally could do that. Like, you're already do a shopping trip that's to that magnitude, that's to that scale, because I just want you to prove to yourself that you can do it. Well, challenge accepted. I've already said, you challenge me that I can't do something, I'm going to do it. So I went about putting together a shopping trip that was on the magnitude of what we had seen on this show. And then somehow, and I don't remember how, but somehow I got word that they were doing a casting call. You could apply to be on the show. I said, well, shoot, I'm in. So I did my little 30-second video, I already had my stockpile, already had my blog going, already had the followers, I already had the big, massive coupon binder, and I had my whole method down to it. I had everything. Didn't have to invent any of this. I just did a 30-second video of myself in my stockpile in the basement, explaining what I do. And me, by now, a few minutes in, you can probably tell that I can talk. that is not a weakness that I have. I can sit and talk forever. So got an immediate invitation to be on the show. And so, okay, cool. So the producers came and we filmed for 2 12-hour days straight, cut this down into like 13 minutes of footage. But here's the thing. So this is TLC producing this show, Extreme Couponing, and they're television producers. They're not couponers. So it's my job to create the shopping trip. 100% my job. And I'm not about to be on national television and not know exactly what my total is going to be at checkout after we've spent all day in the store shopping. So I did what any sane person would do. I thought you create a spreadsheet, put my shopping list on a spreadsheet. And I'm kind of a numbers person anyway, just the satisfaction of numbers matching, just it's something that's really satisfying to me. So a lot of times my mind just thinks in spreadsheets. And when I'm thinking about how to put something down in any kind of format, it's always a spreadsheet. Anyway, so we're going shopping. I've got my shopping list on a spreadsheet. And what I wanted to be able to do, the reason for the spreadsheet was, I wanted to be able to edit it on the fly. So if the quantity changed when I got in the store, maybe I'm getting 3 of something instead of 4 because they only had 3, or maybe I'm in there and I find a deal that I've got a coupon for that wasn't already on my shopping list. I can add it and I can have a running list of, what my total is going to be at the end at checkout. So I go through the filming. I've got my spreadsheet on an iPad that I'm using I got sitting on my shopping cart on top of my coupon binder as I'm going through the store as they're filming. Just a tool for me. I didn't think anything more about it than that. So we go through, we do the checkout. And for those of you interested in the total, it was, I can't remember exactly, it was a little over $1,300. And this was season 1 of Extreme Couponing. And it was a little over $1,300. And after coupons, the store owed me 31 cents. So that was all very well calculated. I knew exactly what it was going to be. And we go home and it's a while, several weeks before the show airs. And when it aired, my blog and my Facebook page, where I had already established this following, see if it comes full circle, right? You wonder why I brought that up. It went nuts with people asking, what app are you using? What app are you using? You were using, because the show took off like wildfire. I mean, that was a perfect time for TLC to have released this show because it was a really relevant topic at the time. I mean, people were in love with this subject, like to an obsessive level. Pretty sure that we were responsible for the changing of all of the coupon policies in all the grocery stores. So sorry about that. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot with this TV show. But so the show airs and my feed is going nuts with everybody asking what app I was using. Well, it was just a spreadsheet, just an Excel spreadsheet. So I was going to pretty it up and just post it on my website for people to download. And my husband, Joe, was like, you got to sell it. So, it's a spreadsheet. Why would I sell a spreadsheet? That's stupid. It was free. I didn't pay for it. Why would I turn around and sell it? He's like, Well, if you give it away, if it's free, then they can do it. But if you're going to offer something that you've put your work and time into creating, then they need to pay you something for it. I guess my entrepreneurial spirit had not quite kicked in to the point where I was looking at this as a profitable opportunity. It still seemed really silly to me to post something that I created, I felt like with no trouble, and yet turn around and sell it. It just somehow it didn't seem right. Like, I have no cost in this. This didn't cost me anything. Why am I trying to make a profit? But anyway, so I asked a number of people, and everybody was adamant about no. If they want to make it themselves for free, they can. If they want yours, they need to pay for it. So after some back and forth about a price, I settled on $4.99 as a download price. I prettied it up. I gave it some features that were beyond what I created. I made a nice little usable tool out of it. And so I did like a countdown on the website to when it was going to be available. And I was shocked at the people who I swear these people were like sitting at their computer ready to hit the enter key when it went live, because within the first day, there were thousands sold. Thousands. And, TLC reran this show constantly. So every time the show would rerun, I had it set up to ding my PayPal. I get a notification on my phone, and we'd be sitting at dinner somewhere and my phone would ding, 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 ding. I'm like, oh, their TLC's rerunning the show. Here we go. So then they invited me back for season 2, and I appeared on season 2, did the whole thing over a second time. Well, this time I know what happened the first time I did it. So I am going through the store. Well, I'm working on my Working Mom coupon spreadsheet, and it's available to, totally giving myself a plug. But anyway, that worked. That was a massive shot in the arm that we as a family needed income wise. But at the same time, I was wanting to open my own store. I was wanting to have my own business. I was dreaming of leaving Simmons, and I didn't want to go into debt doing that, because even though I thought I was pretty smart and, had the potential of being a good business owner, I also know there are factors beyond your control, and, things cannot work out. So I didn't want to have a bunch of debt. I didn't want to risk, our home or anything that we already had as a family. So this revenue from the coupon spreadsheet funded my opening a business. There's a whole other little story around why I initially wanted to open a clothing store. That was for like 1 minute. I wanted to open a clothing store because I thought I was tired of mattresses. But anybody who's been in the mattress business for any length of time will tell you that you don't really leave the mattress industry like you think you're going to. I think all of us that joined thought we'd do it for a little while, and then here we are 25 years later still doing it. So we don't escape. Once we get our hands on you in the mattress business, you're here. Anyway, so clothing store, that was a bad idea from the get-go. But mattress business, though, that was what my area of expertise was at that point. And to provide a little context, what I did for Simmons as an operations manager was essentially liquidate anything excess that the company had. So whether it was, canceled orders, overstock items, sometimes raw materials, even with line changes, they would have excess fabrics and materials that needed to be moved. But there was a whole list of things. But ultimately, that stuff is kind of, it's a little bit of a budgeted loss on their end. They know at the end of lines or with certain types of things that they're going to be losses. And so that's all budgeted in. So my job was to make it go away without losing any more. And so what we did was have a network of dealers that had to be approved. There was a stringent approval process that I kind of oversaw. And we would liquidate these products to these dealers. So pennies on the dollar. So after doing this for years, I'm like, I need to be a dealer. That's the business I need to be in. I already know it inside and out. Heck, I'm over here at corporate writing the rule book for it. I know how to do this. So I went to my boss, and I was very transparent about what I wanted to do. I said, I realize that will create a conflict if I'm still working here. And you guys have been too good to me for me to do anything like that. So I would like your blessing to go pursue this. And I would like to be an approved dealer. And of course, the response was, if we can keep you, that's great. But if you're leaving anyway, then who better to be a dealer than you, who have worked so closely with this situation? So yes, absolutely, we will approve you to be a dealer. So I say that part of it to say that my couponing, my wanting to save money and be frugal has carried over even into the business that I started, the Big Mattress Outlet, because we now liquidate um, overstock products from a lot of the major name brand manufacturers like Simmons and Serta and Sealy and several of the others. So that's kind of a side point, but it's funny how it all kind of comes full circle. Um, I'm one who, when I set my goal, when I set my sights on something, I'm likely to just kind of run full steam ahead toward it. I know there will be obstacles. I know there will be hurdles and problems, but my mindset has always been, I'll figure them out when I get there. That has served me well because it keeps down that fear factor. I'm not going to say it wasn't scary to leave my corporate job. But fear and excitement are the same chemical reaction in your brain. And so sometimes when something is a scary situation, something that kind of elicits the emotions of fear, you can kind of train yourself into turning that into excitement. And for some, it's easier than others. For me, I don't like the feeling. I don't like negative feelings. I don't like negative emotions. That's my personality type, is to push them away anyway. If something's going to make me sad, I don't want to think about it. If something's going to make me anxious, I'm going to place my thoughts elsewhere. But I tend to dive into a project or a new business initiative, giving myself a little bit of credit for having the brains to figure it out. Like I'm not blind to the fact that we're going to have some obstacles. There'll be some hard times, but I'll figure them out when they get there. I don't have to have every single hurdle answered before I even start the project. I set the vision clear in my head and full steam ahead toward it. So that's what I did with the mattress business and opening a brick and mortar store in Rome, Georgia in 2012. That was the first store. And I opened it all by myself. We were closed on Sundays, so I worked Monday through Saturday and all alone, just me. And thought if I could do that for a couple of years, I knew that'd be hard. It'd be a lot of sacrifice, but if I could do it for a couple of years, then maybe we'd be successful enough by that point that Joe, my husband, could leave his job. Well, we were about 3 months in. We opened in August of 2012, and by Black Friday, end of November, it was becoming pretty obvious that this was successful enough that he might be able to go ahead and leave his job. Like I was going to need some help running it, not because I didn't like the working 6 hours a week or 6 days a week. It was because we were busy enough that I needed an extra person just to handle what was going on. So I told him, you can take a leap of faith. You can join me and we'll make this a family business, or I'll have to hire somebody. But this is turning out to be way more successful even than I had hoped. So that's one store became two stores, and stores became three. We halted expansion for several years because I mentioned having three kids, and we had teenagers at home that were involved in, activities at school, and we didn't want to misplace our priorities. Like we wanted to be there for them. We wanted to be able to go to the football games on Friday night and work the concession stand and be a part of their activities and their lives. And, having the stores that we had at the time allowed us that flexibility. But we said, when the youngest graduates college, when we're officially empty nesters, we'll focus on expanding the business. So the youngest graduated college this past year, and she's going to dental school. Congratulations, Danielle. But so Danielle is our youngest. My daughter, Natalie, is married and now lives in British Columbia and may be entering the mattress business soon. I think she's aiming toward she got her sights set on a job there. So hopefully by a future episode, we'll be able to talk about her mattress career. And my son actually is one of our store managers in Calhoun, Georgia, Xavier. So family business. And now we are focused full steam ahead on expansion. And there are multiple paths we could take. We could have, opened more stores that we own, or we could have, we talked about franchising, licensing. We settled on franchising. And if I'm being honest, the reason why is that the rewards of business ownership have been so insanely great for us that I'm going to back up on this sentence a second. We were listening to Harry Roberts, who's one of the founders of Mattress Firm and also a very dear friend. And he said something in an interview recently that, going back all those years ago when they first started Mattress Firm and they were just thinking about how to grow. And he said, we got to train entrepreneurs, not employees. Talking about their employees that worked for him at the time. We got to make them entrepreneurs. And that really spoke to me, because in that moment, my vision changed from being a manager to our team to a vision of these store managers that we have that do such an awesome job for us. If they want this for themselves, they could be entrepreneurs. Who better to own a big mattress outlet store than somebody who was trained by us, who ran our stores? Like that's a perfect fit. So my son absolutely has his sights set on that. And in talking about franchising, that was a path that we, from an emotional standpoint, that's what we wanted to do. We're like, we can help other people have the same success that we've had. We can help them be entrepreneur people who have the same spirit. Like, they don't mind hard work. We don't mind putting in the hours that it takes, putting in the effort that it takes. We just want to be in the driver's seat. We just want to see something succeed. All those emotions I talked about having when I was at Simmons, and when, you'll see Joe on a future episode and he'll talk about his story. But somebody who feels those same things and just wants to be in the driver's seat of their career in a really exciting and cool industry that we have fallen in love with, because, who's not passionate about sleep, right? Everybody loves to sleep well. People are not passionate about mattress shopping, but they're passionate about sleeping. And that's where we make the connection and get people in touch with their emotions when it comes to getting better sleep. So that's the path for expansion for our business. And that in itself is being really rewarding, because we're seeing the excitement of other business owners when we talk to them, and how we talk about our business model and what we do and how we do it. And it's a fun thing to talk about. And they're just like, wow, I got to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. So with this podcast going forward, it's easy for me to get sidetracked talking about mattress business all the time. But when we talk to other people in other industries, the one common thread that you will find with all these successful people, and some of these people highly, way more successful even than I probably ever will be. And the one common thread is that there are fears that we have to acknowledge. There are fears that will make us want to hold back because it's an unknown. And the journey that we take from wanting to do something, but being a little afraid of it, to navigating through that to the other side to where the breakthrough happens, that journey is remarkably similar with every single one of us. Just replace the fill in the blank words with, mattress industry or clothing industry or restaurant industry or, car repair, any number of different people that we've got in mind to talk to. But the narrative is the same, because we are human beings and we feel the same way with a lot of the situations that we're faced with. So my message to you, and it's always going to be this, is if you're thinking about taking that leap of faith, you would like to be an entrepreneur, let some who have been through that, let them hold your hand a little bit. Let them talk you through some of the feelings. I would love to hear from you. Kelly at nothingelsemattress.com. That's Kelly, because it's the only right way to spell Kelly, of course. But there's also a text link there, or a text number. You're welcome to text me anytime. Would love to talk to you. Would love to share any insights at all that I may have found over the years. Future guests will be happy to take questions from you. But we hope that you'll subscribe. We hope you'll watch future episodes. And we hope that even if you're already on your pathway to success, that you'll just enjoy hearing stories of other people who are just starting their journey. And if you have experienced a measure of success, would love to hear from you. Would love to have you on the show. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to our Nothing Else Mattress. We'll see you on future episodes.